Yeah, what is it do we want to talk about first? What do we need help on? Go ahead.
I have some quick fire questions, if that's okay, Ty.
Yep, what's up?
Thank you. What's the best way to get a review for the profile video?
Yeah, just drop your link to your profile here, or just drop a link to the Loom, whatever wherever you have it hosted, and we can just kind of screen share, take a look at it. Or you can also just post it in the school community, and when I got a sec, I'm happy to take a look at it and just type up and leave a comment that way as well.
Great. And do business owners see it favorable to work with a closer who's a business owner?
That depends. Um, typically, typically, especially bigger businesses, they would want to work with someone who's fully dedicated to closing. It just depends on what kind of business you run. What kind of business do you run right now?
Yeah, it's online education agency.
Okay. Yeah. So main thing, if it's a bigger business that's working on scaling, they kind of if they see you as someone who's going to obviously leave as soon as that business is scaled to a certain point, they might not want to put as many resources into development, training you, and all these things, especially when they expect that you're going to take off soon. If you're selling in a niche that's close to your business, they might also be worried about conflict of interest and that kind of stuff.
Great. And for businesses in the US, Canada time zones that want full time in the UK, if I'm based in the UK, is there usually much flexibility in work hours?
Yeah, it really comes down to the hours that prospects mainly book at. So, for example, you can always negotiate the timing and when you're going to work, even though a job offer or something like that might say full time, depending on what hours the current closers on the team are able to fill, they might be okay with other kind of weird deals. So, for example, a sales team I ran, we had full time closers, but then we had someone take like 2 or 3 of the evening calls because not many closers wanted to work past 6, 7 o'clock, but we did have some people that wanted to take calls after work at that time. Um, Full time, typically though, they're gonna want like they're gonna want you between like 11 to 5, 11 to 6 o'clock, 10 to 6, that kind of thing. So if you're willing to work those time zones, EST or PST, um, or CST, then it would work. But then you might have to negotiate something. If you're working with a U.S. company and you can't work those times, you might have to negotiate something that's a little bit more part time in terms of their hours.
Thank you. And are all jobs listed on the Rep Select actively looking, or are there any older listings that are no longer recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, it's the jobs are posted. Like you just look at the newest jobs. They're obviously the ones that are most likely looking actively. Some companies do leave their job posts up. I wouldn't shy away from the older job posts though, because at the end of the day, I've seen time and time again where business owners, even if they've selected someone, usually around that 30 to 90-day mark is when they find out whether that person was actually a fit, whether that person actually is performing in that role. And sometimes you can get into roles with very little competition because the 90-day old post, the 60-day old post, not many people are applying to them. But if you go and reach out, they might be like, "Hey, I was just looking for to replace someone," or "Hey, the last person I hired just didn't work out, so I was actually just about to start going back through my applicants and seeing who else was there." So I also wouldn't shy away from older posts, but obviously the newest ones you would prioritize if you're looking for someone that you know is actively hiring.
Great. And finally, how many jobs would you suggest to apply for daily? For what length of time, and do you generally get an idea, like a job usually?
Yeah, it really just depends on what you're looking for. So there's obviously people that spray and pray and get tons of interviews that way. Then there's people that are a little bit more meticulous. I would say if you're looking for like your first opportunity, part time, full time, doesn't really matter. You're just looking for something to build the track record because you've got no experience on the resume. Then you can lean a little bit more towards spray and pray, submit as many applications as you can fit into whatever allotted time you have for submitting applications. Um, but if you're looking for to work with like some of the best companies, you just want the best offers. You're looking for something very specific, certain lead flow, certain niche, all that stuff, then you want to kind of be a little bit more meticulous with going after specific companies and do a little bit of a deeper application process instead of submitting shallowly to a lot of companies. Go to that 5 or 10 companies that you really want to work with, submit an application, reach out to the sales manager, founder directly, see if there's any other sales reps that you can find on like LinkedIn, Facebook that you can connect with and network with. So both work. It really just depends. I would say the second one, where you're a little bit more meticulous, works for the better offers out there, whereas spray and pray is a lot better sometimes for a beginner that might struggle to get on some of those better offers as well. But I've seen on average, after about 30 to 50 applications, if you have a really good profile, good intro video and stuff like that, you should have multiple interviews and start picking from offers from there if you perform well in those interviews.
Great. Thank you so much, Ty. I really appreciate your help.
No problem. No problem. What other questions we have?
I want to ask a question. Hi, Martin. Can I put on my intro video and you would give like some feedback?
Yeah, go ahead. You can drop a link to it in the chat.
All right. I did.
Okay, one sec. Let me pull it up here.
I shot it yesterday
Cool.
or 2 days ago.
Let me know when you guys can see the screen. All right, you guys can see that?
Hello?
Yeah, I
My
can.
name
Cool. So first thing I will say is I've heard time and time again, business owners really don't like the kind of like floating head walkthrough stuff. They want, like, the whole purpose of the loom is realistically to address how you communicate, how you sell, or how you pitch yourself. But then also they want to see where you would take sales calls from. Where's your dedicated space, right? So whether it's an office space, whether it's just like a blank wall in a room, they want to see that. So showcasing like a LinkedIn or a resume or a presentation, slideshow, whatever from screen share. I've just seen a lot of business owners, a lot of recruiters, they really don't want to see that. But let's jump into it.
My name is Kristijonas Klimaitis. I'm a full cycle high ticket closer based in Europe, open to work in American time zones as well. And with this very short video, I would like to present myself and what I bring to the table. So, a little story about my life. In 2019, I graduated from Stockholm School of Economics, bachelor in economics and finance. And ever since, I started my work sales experience. So, the first thing was as a founder of B2B lead generation agency, where I cash collected 120,000, servicing marketing agencies as well as SaaS startups. These are some of the clients I got to work with, and this is their testimonials about my business. Afterwards, I was headhunted by Tomas Unikauskis to join his team as a closer for his e-commerce SaaS startup. And these are the inputs from my side, where I was cold calling myself and I was taking the meeting. So I was doing the lead generation as well as closing, and I was doing more than anyone in the team. And results show that 243 deals closed in a little bit over a year, 670,000 in total sales just from my pipeline. Afterwards, I was traveling for a year in South America and just doing consulting in terms of sales and marketing. And Thomas invited me to join his company one more time, where I came, just joined 2 months ago. This is one of the clients I brought last month, but we're bringing close like this every single week. So these are my inspirations. Most importantly, Closer Framework by Alex Hermosi, Selling with Love, Gap Selling. And if you guys are interested, let's book a call. I want to learn about your company and see if we're a good fit.
So overall, I would say it's a good video in terms of everything that you said. I would just, again, formulate it a little bit differently in terms of the look and how quickly you get to certain information that business owners mainly care about. I noticed it took us about 30 seconds to actually start talking about results that you've generated for other companies. Most business owners that click into the intro video are going to give it the first 15 to 20 seconds before they click off. So you want to get something that's interesting, which is the numbers, the facts. That's what they want to hear. try and see if you can get that within the first like 10 seconds of the video as like a hook, just like any video you'd make for anything, right? Um, Again, the resume, the slideshow stuff, it makes sense, but I've just heard time and time again, recruiters, business owners, they don't want to see that because their main focus is how do you sell yourself? What do you say about yourself? What energy do you bring when you sell yourself? Instead of just saying, oh, I generated this, look at this, I did this, look at this. The slideshow, that can go in like your portfolio section, that can go on your resume. If they want to see the words, if they want to see the stats that way, they can look at that, right? But what they want to see is how do you present those stats in an interesting way with energy, with excitement. Again, how do you pitch yourself? That's the only thing I would change here is just get yourself fully on camera and just talk about, because you have great experience to talk about, but you got to sell it. Be like, hey, this is the revenue I generated. These are the companies I worked for. I was number one on the team doing XYZ dials. My close rate was this. Like, really just get on there and sell yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks for feedback. So that would be like a full video of just me presenting, and I would still talk about those things and just those.
Everything you said, you can talk about it, but I want you to tell me about it. Because if I wanted to just see the slideshow, I would just look at your resume. You know what I mean? The whole point of the intro video is that it's something that I can't get from the resume. All of those slides, screenshots, everything, I get that from the resume. I don't need you to just read it out to me. I want to see how you sell, how you communicate. The whole idea of what business owners are doing is they're saying, okay, if I were to take his tone, voice, everything, and just put my pitch in his mouth, would that sound convincing? Does he sound like someone who's selling himself well? That's what the intro video is all about. And the reason why I would say take the video from your setup is some people apply to these roles, but they don't actually have a good enough setup location. Not that you need anything fancy, but there is a certain amount of equipment or at least a dedicated space that you would need, especially for B2B offers where they're putting you in front of other business owners. They would want to see you have a dedicated space to take remote sales calls, and you can showcase that as well through the intro video. That's what they're looking for. That's why you don't want to just take it off your phone or anything like that. So they're looking at communication skills, location, equipment requirements. That's the main thing they want in that intro video.
All right. And at the moment, it's 2 minutes. Would you keep it 2 minutes or would you make it 1 minute?
I would make it 1 minute if I could, at max like a minute 20 seconds, unless I was applying for a role where they specifically asked for a specific amount of time. But yeah, for a general one, I would cut it down to a minute if I could.
Maybe you have a like really nice, really good example, like where I can just see someone doing it really well.
Not off the top of my head. I don't have one right this second, but I think in school, I think there's a couple examples there in the interview section if you want to check there. But if I were you, if I were going through this right now, we've got growth attacker. Let me share screen again just so I'm not speaking about things you guys can't see. So we've got some good experience here. Let me see. Growth attacker. Let's say we just mentioned growth attacker. Looks like you generated 120K. Is that what it says?
Yes.
And then we've got which one? What was this experience again? This was dialing, right?
This was dialing and closing, full cycle, like
Full cycle.
doing lead generation and closing.
What kind of offer was it?
It was e-commerce SaaS for Amazon sellers.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I would just get on there and just be like, hey, I'm Ty, sending this video because I'd love to work with you as your next closer. Some of the experience I have in sales comes from one as a founder for a company that I founded called Growth Attacker, where I generated over $120,000 doing X, Y, Z. I was responsible for setting. I was responsible for closing. I also was a closer and a setter for an Amazon founder coaching business where I was closing at 30%, generate over whatever, dialed whatever, close rate was whatever. Some of my biggest sales inspirations have been, like you said, Alex Hormozy, this, that. And what I'm looking for right now is XYZ. And the only thing I would plug in there as well is any accolades of being like number one on the team, winning awards, which I think you mentioned somewhere in there. And if you're just like super straight to the point, super results focused, you can easily make it 1 minute. Easily make it 1 minute. Does that make sense? Like all of these stats and stuff, yeah, you can say that stuff directly. Did he drop out the call? I think he dropped it. Either way, he can watch the recording. Any other questions? What else we got?
Yeah, can I jump in?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Can you hear me though? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm good, Ty. Yeah, yeah, two things though. I appreciate what you do, yeah, but I'm trying to land myself a role and I did get off I can call it like an interview or like an informal chat, but it did seem sketchy though. It wasn't from your job offer board, but I did see it off LinkedIn. But I just
Mm-hmm.
said, let me give it a shot through the spray and pray technique. But
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't quite clear. But and again, I'm feeling a bit iffy because of the nationality of the CEO from Pakistan and all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. So the offer wasn't too clear. It's an insurance with an ACA company, and I'm not quite sure if they're licensed. And they didn't
Yeah.
like do much of like interrogation with me to see if I can handle objections and all this kind of stuff. They didn't go
I'd
deep.
probably stay
So they were
away from
almost trying to
insurance.
find out.
I'd probably stay away from
All right,
insurance if you're
yeah,
looking
yeah.
for like a closer or setter role, like at least a traditional one. I mean, insurance. There's some good insurance companies out there. They
Mm-hmm.
provide leads and stuff like that, but it's a different industry, really.
Yeah, I
Because like
figured
there's a
because
lot of
I
like
might end.
there's a lot of overlap between insurance companies and like
Mhm.
MLM stuff as well. So like if you are trying to go into
Oh.
insurance, you want to be really careful that it's not like an insurance MLM focused insurance company. There are real like legit insurance companies you can work with, but there's also ones that are MLM focused rather than focused on like selling insurance. They're focused more on recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you're looking for like if you're trying to get into high ticket sales, I would probably avoid insurance altogether.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Because they do claim they're probably health insurance, ACA, that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to hear your feedback, but I already told myself I'm not even gonna take it, even if they do offer me.
Yeah.
So, but
The
that's
only
it.
insurance
Then
role I
I'm
would
still trying
ever
to
take is
build
that
my pro
but yeah, go ahead. You're trying to build your profile, you said?
which one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
delay.
I'm trying
There's
to
a
work
delay.
on my profile.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So I'm trying to work on my profile. I've not quite fleshed it all out, but is it okay to share with you so that you can also look at my Loom and see if everything seems all right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I'll drop it in the chat. 1 second.
All right, let's take a look
And
here.
maybe this week I'll try to see if I can get into the job board as well, so I could start looking at some proper.
Sounds good. Let's take a look here. So we got your profile pulled up. Good headshot photo. Revenue generates, filled out, deal size, all that. We'll look at the intro video last. Profile summary, portfolio. Definitely, if you have anything to add there, anything that can prove the 2.5 million generated would be huge. Also, role plays, call recordings, that kind of stuff. If you've got any clips to share there, that's also huge. When it comes to employment, operations, general manager, deliver 157 revenue, marketing officer. Okay, cool. So main thing with employment, you want to make it as achievement focused as possible. Anything that you achieved at the company, I see that you have that here for most of them, which is solid. Overall, profile looks filled out and good. Only thing I would say is, yeah, go ahead and get some stuff in the portfolio. Let's take a look at the intro video.
Hold up. Now, most salespeople will tell you what they can do. I am going to show you what I've already done with numbers that speaks for themselves. I am Kola Shonubi, a senior sales closer with 15 years experience in high ticket closing across various sectors. Now I've built revenue streams of over $2.1 million across the companies I've worked for. In my last offer, I did have a close rate of 30%, and I did have like 150K in cash collected within my last month. I have a vast experience when it comes to CRM expertise, and I handle objections whereby I convert skeptics into buyers. I've done this across various sectors, and I do it remotely as well. Now, if you're looking for a closer that can get the job done from day one, you're in the right place. So chat with me and we'll have a talk and see how I'll get started with you. Cheers for now.
Yeah, overall, nothing super negative to say about the intro video, especially for a general one. I think it's pretty solid, man. Yeah, it's a good, quick, to the point. Talk about some of the stuff you've done. Again, if there's any other stats, facts, achievements that you can talk about over the 15 years, that would be huge. Like maybe how you generated that revenue um, would be good. If it was just closing deals, if there's any setting you talked about close rates, if there's any set rates, show rates that you were responsible for in the process, that would also be helpful as well. But overall, yeah, pretty standard video. Good profile, man.
Yes, thanks a lot.
No problem. Any other questions? What else we got?
I got a few. So how many jobs on average are posted daily on the job board?
Monthly, we get close to like 300. So yeah, I think it's about 5 to 10 a day.
It's 10. Okay, I got you. Next,
And then that doesn't
when I was
include
a
like the recruiter pipelines as well, because we've got about 25 to 30 recruiting companies that are listed there as well. And some of them are like recruiting for ongoing offers that like their companies want to hire 100 people a week. Or so if you go through the recruiters, there's a lot there too. But yeah, go ahead.
okay, okay, yeah. So when I was getting the offer I'm currently on, I had a really hard time getting it just because I'm from Europe, and although I'm willing to work and I'm working US hours, I feel like the recruiters or the job owners just dismissed it just when they see my country. So like, would you say that most offers are available to, let's say, European people?
Yeah, I mean, we post UK offers on there as well, offers for Australia as well. It all depends on why they dismissed you, right? So if they just dismissed you because of the country, it might be because they assume that you're not willing to work the time zone. So, for example, if you're totally fine with doing like Eastern time, that's when I would do with what we saw in the first intro video is mention that up front in the intro video, for example. Um, yeah, it just depends on why they rejected it, but I would assume that's one of the main reasons is this guy willing to work our time zone?
Okay. Next, I have not finished setting up my profile, but like for this software I'm currently on, I have not done these crazy numbers, even though I was like either the top or the second seller per month, just because the offer was like mid ticket. It was like 500 to 2,000.
Hmm.
That was the packages. So like,
Hmm.
do you feel like I should maybe put my numbers on there, even though they're not these crazy high numbers?
Yeah, you put your numbers on there because it will be better than it saying zero. But when it comes to like the intro video and stuff, you want the intro video to just showcase the best parts of what you've got. So usually if you've done any amount of sales, there's at least one of your metrics should be sexy enough to throw into an intro video. So for example, if overall revenue generated isn't an attractive number, then focus more on close rate, right? If I've generated only like 50K or 20K, but it was super low ticket and I did high volume with like a 50-60% close rate, then I'm going to focus on my close rate, right? Focus on the numbers that are attractive. Is your close rate attractive? If you're a setter, is your set rate attractive? Set to show rate attractive? Like what number in what you did in sales is the attractive numbers, and then use those, right? Like if your close rate's
Yeah.
great but your show rate sucked, then don't mention the show rate, mention the close rate. Like, you know what I mean? And vice versa. Just find the numbers that are attractive. Because like the intro video it's just a trailer to get someone to watch the movie, you know? All you need it
Hmm.
to do is get you the interview, and then you guys can discuss the rest. right? So just
Yeah.
use what is attractive. You don't show the worst parts of a movie in a trailer.
Yeah. So I was an SDR. Also took some closing calls here and there. So probably like my best would be set to show rate. So
Yeah, even the fact like if you're an SDR, how many dials did you do a day on average?
probably like 150.
That shows massive work ethic. I would use that number. Yeah, I did 150 dials a day. It's a great number. Even if not a lot of them ended up closing, that at least says, hey, this guy's a hard worker. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to Zach Brown, a recruiter that we have listed there. He was saying that he always interviews anyone with any type of like cold calling or cold outreach on their resume, just because it says that they're a hard worker, and you just need. It's just a different type of beast to do cold calling. So he's like, if anyone's done any type of cold calling for more than 3 months, I always at least give them an interview. So
Okay. Gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah. I had one more question, but I forgot what I was gonna ask. So if I remember, I'm gonna ask it later. Yeah.
no
Thank
problem.
you.
Sarah, you wanted to look at your Loom video?
Yeah, if possible. I mean, it's a bit more tailored to one specific offer that I was applying for, but yeah,
Cool.
hopefully you can give me some great insights.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. Let me share screen.
Hello, everyone. This is Sarah, your next Italian closer. I'm looking to collect 1 million with one offer, so you're welcome. When it comes to my sales experience, I've been a BDR for 6 months, 2 months appointment setting, and currently closing since 1 month for an Italian offer selling software. So I'm pretty excited about being a closer and constantly improving myself with different mentorships, invested multiple four figures into myself. So yeah, I come with knowledge, and I always love to have a student mentality when it comes to this craft that constantly needs improvement. It's like going to the gym daily. I love reviewing my calls and really understanding where I should have improved and really apply it as fast as I can, because there's money on the table on both sides. So I'm very aware of that. Can't wait to bring all the energy I have in. I got to know people from tier one, specifically connected with Tristan and Teddy in the past, and yeah, very excited for what is coming next. So yeah.
So the only thing I would say with this one, you said that you were a BDR and then you said that you've been a closer for a month. Was it with the same company that you became a closer?
No, actually, BDR was in Australia, then appointment setting another company, and then I jumped into a closing role with another company.
Okay, cool. Main thing I is missing here is again what you achieved in these
Mm,
roles. That's the part that all the business owners care about. You know, they want to know
yeah,
like what did Sarah? Because at the end of the day, we're sales reps, we're producers. We're there to
yeah,
produce results for the company. So the whole point, like if you're gonna sell your skill set, you have to say, hey, this is what I was able to produce there. And it get kind of like
yeah.
what I was saying before. Just pick the sexiest numbers. Is it your dial rate is the best part? Is the show rate the best part? Is the close rate the best part? Is it
Okay.
set to show? Just pick the best numbers and list all of them as the results you got for that company.
If it comes to the fact that I want to jump into closing, but still don't have the numbers to, shine through there. But I guess everybody that jumped in there just suggested me to apply for closing roles, because some companies really don't allow the starting as a setter and then upskilling as a closer later on. What would you recommend when you really don't have the numbers to showcase? Like just the energy and saying you're willing to put everything in there? Any other aspects that could, I don't know,
Yeah,
shine through there?
because
Then,
all you could do is mention the numbers you do have and say
yeah.
why it makes you an awesome closer, right? It's all about how you frame it. Hey, I have experience setting. I've done this. I've set appointments for here, there, and there, so I understand the full cycle, and that's what makes me a great closer. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
it's all in how you present the information, right?
yeah.
Um, I'm not afraid to get in there and set my own deals if I have to, if the calendar's ever low, if
Yeah.
marketing slows down. Like, you know what I mean? That's
hmm
your edge, right? Um,
But
one,
still, it's not closing, right? So I
yeah,
see it. I couldn't present big numbers, especially because I just jumped on this offer not even a month ago. and it's very much different from the iTicket space. I mean, it's still a 4K offer. It's selling software for people that want to start an e-com, but still it's a true call close. They give the price before, and then after they need to talk to the accountant, and like it's very weird in terms of the process itself. So I'm like, what should I best? That's why I really wanted to switch, right? Because it's not what I've been learning in the different mentorships, the B2C, the objection handling, the pre-handling, the the journey that you basically make the prospect go through, the identity shifting and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, if you've only been there for a month and you don't have too much to show for it, it's not something you
Yeah.
necessarily have to talk too much about. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Especially in the intro video, that you don't necessarily need to bring it up. You can say, "Hey, I have been a closer for a month on an offer right now." You can say, "I'm a closer on an offer currently." I wouldn't say I've been there for 1 month. I would just say, "I'm a closer on an offer currently," because the first thing I'm gonna be
Yeah.
saying is, "Why is she applying if she's just got on an offer a month ago?" Right?
Yeah.
And then if they ask about it, then you can have a conversation. You literally just say, "Hey, it's not the type of sales that I'm really interested and
Yeah.
passionate about. That's why I'm applying for this one to work with you guys." Another thing is, a lot of business owners, especially if you're talking to founders in the interview process, a lot of them will hire someone for passion and understanding the prospects, the type of service they deliver, over closing track record. So I had a guy that I was coaching one-on-one at one point, and he went to an interview, and he completely he was going to buy their program a few years ago because he really
Okay.
liked the influencer and he followed them, right? And he ended up deciding to get into closing instead of going that route. It was another type of like biz off. And then when he ended up getting an interview at that company for a sales role, and when he interviewed, one of them, he had zero experience in sales, never sold a thing before, but he talked about how he follows the founder, he's been a fan, he likes his stuff, he understands how important the stuff he does is and all that. And he passed that interview. They let him do a mock call, and after the mock call, the business owner, they called him and they said, "Hey, your mock call was like a 6 out of 10, right? It wasn't that good. We had other people that did perform better, but we want to give you the job simply because we see that you have a passion for what we do. And as long as you're coachable, we'd rather hire someone who understands the value of what we do and has a heart for this over people that are just looking for another gig, even though they're very experienced and have skill." Right? That's how
Right.
most founders think, because they understand that conviction sells at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're super sold on something yourself, you're going to sell it better than someone who's just trying to treat it as another sales gig, another sales
Yeah.
job. So if you don't, this is for everyone, if you don't have a lot of sales experience, showcasing your understanding for what they do, your passion for what they do, especially coaching and consulting offers, like, it'll go a long way and it'll help you a lot to land better roles.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Someone put in the chat, well, they messaged privately. They said, for someone that has been in traditional sales, mostly product selling, how does one transition to being a closer? At the end of the day, it's very similar than from any industry. I mean, traditional sales makes it even easier because you at least have some sales-esque things to talk about, track record, numbers, that kind of stuff. Realistically, you need to put together required assets, which intro video, call recordings help. If you don't have them, role plays is really, really huge. You need to understand the sales framework, how to actually go about conducting a call as a closer, a call as a setter. Once you understand the framework, the bare bones, then you can start applying for roles, right? So it's like skill development, sales skills, interview skills, assets, intro video, call recordings, that kind of stuff. And then there's actually just going out and applying. And then a good fourth one for the long-term growth of your sales career would be kind of like your brand building, your networking with other reps, networking with other business owners, kind of having a community that you are building slowly, so that when you are maybe looking to transition or get into a different offer or anything like that, you have people in your network you can go to for support in that pretty quickly. But that would be for how anyone can kind of get into the industry, is get the assets together, make sure you understand how to conduct the calls, and then start doing reach outs, start applying. Recruiters is a really good pathway. A little bit harder if you have no track record to work with the recruiters. So then start targeting businesses and reaching out directly. Take on an offer that maybe is a little bit less competitive, maybe something you could do part time with a smaller OTE. Build up a track record, and you can use that as well to get even better offers if you find that you're struggling to get on really a lot bigger companies, if that makes sense. And Woro, what's up, man?
Hey, Ty, I'm doing good, man. How are you doing, dude?
I'm doing good, doing good. How can I help you?
Hey, it's always great to be here, man. Shout out to the new people out here. Well, like I mentioned to you the other time, I wanted to get this. The question I have actually has to do with cold calling. So for me, I want to really look at it from the angle of this. Talking about cold calling, it's not kind of like a culture from our angle. It's not a culture from here, maybe in Lagos, Nigeria, and stuff like that. So but I keep hearing about cold calling, like okay, it's the numbers game and stuff like that. And I think it's something I am interested in very well. So what I want to ask is, what are the main tools that you use? Because in my research, I realized that cold calling is very different from Zoom calls. Because Zoom calls are kind of like warm leads where you schedule appointments and stuff like that. But cold calling is you calling some off the cuff, like the person is just out there, and then you kind of like interrupt the person's time or day. So I just want to get an understanding of, what are the tools, and how does it kind of work, so that people who don't stay around, like I mentioned now, coming from Nigeria, maybe they have call centers, but working from your laptop and your mobile, what does it take to be able to establish, a solid framework to enable cold calling? Thanks.
You're saying just like how to go about cold calling is what you're asking? You're cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, so I was talking about the tools that you need
Oh, the
to,
tools.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's like a million softwares out there, right? I mean, if you're going to be doing cold calling, you're essentially going to need something for lead generation and need something for dialing, right? Sometimes lead generation, dialing, and you also need like a CRM to track the people, the conversations you have. It's usually those three, and then maybe a fourth one, which is actually a calendar booking software of some kind, like Calendly, that actually books in the calendar, the appointments when you do set yourself an appointment, right, from your dials. Usually it's those four softwares. Some of them intertwine or overlap. Some of them can allow you to do multiple in one. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. You need a lead generation source that scrapes phone numbers from a niche that you're interested in. Some of them, like Zoom Info, for example, can give you leads based on intent. So you might have something that says, like, show me people who have high buying intent for, sales management or something like that, right? And then it would generate you a list of leads, phone numbers, emails, names, positions at companies. And then usually a cold caller will sit there and they'll have a targeted list that's high intent, and they'll target 30 to 100, 30 to 50, depending on their strategy, people a day to dial, have a conversation. They have a quick 30-second, 1 minute pitch that I guess triggers the conversation. If it works out, the conversation ends up being a 5-10 minute regular triage, just like other types of inbound calls. And if it makes sense, they book the call up to have a proper sales call and go from there. But yeah, the tools you would want if you're doing cold calling, especially, you would want the company to take care of it. You would want the company to have a CRM. You'd want the company to have some kind of lead sourcing software. You would want the company to have a dialer. You wouldn't want to do any kind of calling on your own phone. And you would want the company to provide you with a calendar booking software of some kind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does, man. Man. The other question I wanted to ask is for mental game. Like, how does this thing roll up in your mind? Like, I mean, I can see you're more like a veteran right now, but in your transitioning stages, what were the major challenges that you had? How did you kind of like overcome them in terms of encouraging yourself? This has kind of thing like it's more like a mental game where people get discouraged sometimes when you are talked to, like, you kind of like switch off, like, but
Yeah,
then
I
once
actually
that thing
recorded
like,
a YouTube video about that today. That's actually funny. That'll come out
wow,
in a couple days. Well, I mean, you're talking about like when it comes to dialing, especially, right? Like whether it's cold calling, whether it's calling leads. Is that mainly what you're asking about? Like keeping your mindset, um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
staying motivated? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I kind of filmed today. One of the main ways I would do personally is I would reverse engineer the numbers, right? So I would say, okay, what is my commission and how many dials has it taken to make a sale to earn that commission? So if we're just going for easy numbers, let's say I do 100 dials and I set like three people and one of them close, and that close earns me like $100 commission, let's say, as a setter. I would say, okay, reverse engineering it, it's $1 per dial is what I make. And if I want to make $1,000, I just got to go make $1,000. And then I'm just counting the dials as if it's money being deposited into my bank account each dial, you know, because the averages say it is. And you can do the same thing with rejections. Like every time you get a no, you would just count how many no's you typically get until you usually see a yes. And if that number is like 20, it's like, awesome. I got 5 no's. I need 15 more. And usually there's a sale in there. You know what I mean? So that's one way to stay motivated is reverse engineering your commission so that because like as humans, we like to get something out of our work, right? So like Amazon Prime, you want it now. So I'm just imagining that each dial I'm getting $1 right now, rather than not knowing, okay, is it going to happen? But if once you know your numbers, it's a lot easier to stay motivated because you know you've got to get through a certain amount of dials or a certain amount of no's before you get a yes. And I used to do door-to-door sales, and that's another thing I would do with door-to-door sales a ton was to stay motivated was like, this is how many no's or this is how many doors on average I knock in order to get results. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I have some other questions, but I can see many hands are up, so I need to
Yeah.
respect them so they can also ask questions.
Yeah. No problem.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, let's go through it. Adrian, what's up, man?
Hey Ty, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
You're outdoors today. That's real?
Yeah, it's good. Good weather, so I decided to be on the balcony today.
All right, great. So, for that client I told you about last week that I negotiated $1,000 a month, for just a base.
Hmm.
Turns out they don't really have well, their business isn't what they said it is. So they're
Hmm.
like less than 5 leads per day when it should be 20 or 30 per day. So he hasn't paid me. He owes me money from last week, Thursday. And he's unresponsive. So pretty much I'm going to say I don't have that client anymore. So I'm back down to two roles.
Hmm.
One of the roles, it's with a coaching um, client. Um, Pretty much, I wanted to ask for a base, but last week I tried something you said to me, which was to just let them know what it would cost. I asked them to increase my hours initially, but
Hmm.
then they shifted the talk to say um, one way to do this is to do sales for us. The
Hmm.
issue is this is sales where I'm selling tickets for persons to leave wherever they are to come to an event in Florida. I would assume that's a harder thing to sell, which may mean I might not get on the phone and sell in the first day or first week. Not only that, the person who they have doing the role right now, sometimes I see like no sales in like 18 days or 12 days. So it doesn't really inspire me to say, let me take on this as pure commission.
Hmm.
That's risky for me because I have to pay my bills. So how would you recommend going about just saying to them, hey, I'd like $1,000 a month or 1,003 really,
Well,
just
it
to
has
have
to.
something.
All negotiations have to be a win-win. So what do they get out of it?
What do they get is my full availability because right now the contract is for 10 hours per week,
You got
and
to
that's what
sell. You got to sell why that's worth $1,000. You have to sell them, right? If you're negotiating, you have to sell why it is profitable for them to pay you that amount.
That's the thing. I don't know. And
So then why would
the,
they pay it to you if you couldn't tell them why it even makes sense to pay that amount of money? You know.
well, all right. So the only thing that comes to mind is, I would be paying full attention to them for 40 hours for the week,
But what does
pretty
that earn
much.
me? What does that bring to? What does your full attention bring to my business that makes it make sense for me to give you $1,000?
So consistent lead follow up. If they say call me back at this time, I won't have any more clients to
So how
compete
much
with.
extra revenue are you going to generate on a monthly basis for my business for it to make sense for me to pay you an extra $1,000?
I don't know the thing as yet, Ty.
So do the math and
And
figure it out,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I mean, last year I told you I was selling supplements, but that would ended. And that
Hmm.
was like it's easier for somebody to like decide the benefits, how it can help me, and just buy on the call, versus someone to think about they have kids, they have family, they're going to leave their job to fly all the way from California to Florida for a
But
weekend
but
just
but
for an event.
regardless though, you see how it's like you can't just say, "Hey, pay me more money so I'm comfortable," but I don't know how that makes sense for you, but you should just do it. You know what I mean? Like that you can't negotiate that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I mean the biggest thing is just me being there to support them, do the follow-ups, hit
Put
hit hit,
yourself in
hit the
their shoes.
dials, 200.
Put yourself in their shoes. Would you pay you with an extra $1,000 just to be there, or like you know what I mean? Give them a reason. I'm not saying you wouldn't be profitable, but you got to sell it to me. Tell me why it makes sense for me to pay you $1,000 extra a month, right? If you can say, hey, based on my numbers, I looked at it, I did the math. Right now, I'm working with you guys part time. I'm generating this revenue for the company. If I was full time, I would generate $3,000 for the company. So I think it makes sense. You know what I mean? Give give
Yes.
give a reason. You know.
Yes, so right now the role isn't focused on sales. It's more so about like managing the Facebook community, the school, and other admin project management tasks I'm doing right now
So how
mostly.
much
But
so
they
how
want
much time are you saving them? How much again, you've got to find the money in the work that you do that makes it worth it. Regardless of whether it's a sales role or not. Where are you saving them time? Are you saving them money? What are you saving them that's worth $1,000 a month? Because no one like you wouldn't spend $1,000 a month on just like I don't know. It's just my employee. It helps them be more comfortable. You know what I mean? Like you would
well,
want
well,
to know how you're getting an ROI on that investment.
all right. Well, the thing is this, Ty, the person they have who I would imagine is your full-time closer. I'm looking
Hmm.
here. One sale, last sale was Saturday
Well, no one's
for
saying you
two
have to do
thousand
sales for them.
for two
No, I'm not
thousand
saying
dollars.
I'm not saying you have to do sales for them, but I'm saying you have to justify what you're asking for.
Got it, got it.
So
But
think about it.
it's like,
Think about it for a sec. Do the math.
yeah,
Go through it. Think about it. But you can't like again. You can't ask again if you were the business owner and you had
uh-huh.
you working there and you were just saying pay me more just cause like would that like you know what I mean like how does that make sense? That's why they're saying well you can do sales for us then because again you have to justify what you're asking for. That's negotiation. Negotiation isn't give me what I want and I'm comfortable. Negotiation is both of us are happy. You're walking away with what you want. They're walking away with what they want. It's a partnership, right? So yeah, figure out how you bring $1,000. Figure out how you bring $5,000 to $10,000 worth of value, and then ask for $1,000. You know what I mean? And then you will get it.
That's why I think I may have to decline because they've been asking me for quite some time. They want me to do this, but I, I mean,
Then you just decline, and that's okay too.
if if I don't do 20K for them the first month, which is two five per ticket, if I don't do 8 sales for the month, I can't pay my bills.
Then
And I
don't
and the
and don't
person,
and don't do
the
that
person,
opportunity if you're not confident in your ability to perform.
well,
You
the
know.
person here who is your closer, the last major sale was June 5th, and before that, that's for 2K, and before that, the last sale was like May 11th. May 11th, that's 2 sales in
But again, if you're not confident that you can outperform them, then don't do it. Like no one's saying you don't have to do it. Just don't do it.
Uh-huh.
Just don't do it. Do what makes sense for you. If like again, no one's forcing you to do that sales. If you're like, hey, I can't outsell the person that's currently there, then there's a lot of opportunities out there. Go get another opportunity. Get a different one. You know. But the longer you
Mm,
sit here debating, like again, like all of this is you wasting time when you could spend that time getting a better opportunity. Sitting there
mm,
thinking and thinking and thinking, it's like, okay, is the person currently there selling? Yes, cool. Let me go sell with them. Are they not? Are they selling? No. Could I outperform them? I don't think so. Then what's there to think about? If you're not going to
mm.
go there and outperform them, and you need to outperform them to take care of your bills, then go do what takes care of your bills. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
don't
and
have to take that role.
the thing is, we have a talk tomorrow, and I'm very, very cautious and afraid that if I say to them, like, this is my concern, they might fire me from the entire role for
Then
everything else. Or
is that someone you want to be partnered with? In the end of the day, if they would just like you're doing a different role, why would they fire you for not taking on an additional role?
because I was too transparent with my concerns about the other person's sales and their full time and what's happening.
The only reason they would let you go of your role is if you're not producing value that makes your role worth it. Do you think you're producing value that makes your role worth it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so then as long as they know that and they see that, then there's nothing to really worry about. Whatever money you want to make, go produce enough value to earn it. It's like it's really as simple as that. If you don't think
Okay.
sales is the way you can do it, sell them on what will do it. If you're like, "Hey, I don't think I can produce enough value in sales for it to be worth it for either of us." Again, it's a partnership. It's not just about you as well. It's like, "Hey, I don't think my time is best suited selling this thing here. I don't think I would provide the best value here. I actually think I would provide you guys massive value if I did this work, and here's why, and here's how." And again, sell them on why your role makes sense. Sell them on why whatever you're asking for makes sense. Like, again, negotiation is a sales call, right?
Mm,
You're selling your own service. You're selling why your service makes sense, right? If you want them to pay you a certain amount, go request it, but sell it. You can't just request it and say, yeah, but I don't know how it's worth that, but that would make me comfortable to pay my bills. You know what I mean?
yeah. The thing about this role though, Ty, is that I'm already here. So instead of me looking for a different role where it might be strictly commission as well, and I'm being out all over, I'm thinking someone who knows me already. Let me try to say, let me do this. So can you help me to put together a plan? It should be more follow-ups, full availability,
Well, what is
complete.
more follow up? But again, do the math on you. You should look at your numbers. If you've been working there already, you should know how your work has been producing results. How many
My,
extra sales have been brought in from your follow ups, from
no, no,
whatever
no,
work
no,
you've been
no, no,
doing?
no. This is
You
not
know?
follow. No, it wasn't sales. It was more so like Facebook management, project management, welcome calls for those who actually
hmm
buy. I've not been doing the sales calls, so I don't
So
have any
so
data.
well, there's always data. There's data on every role. You said welcome calls. What do you do in terms of welcome calls and all that?
Well, if someone purchased, give them a call, welcome them, happy to have you here. Here's how you get access, etc., etc. Step by step. But that's not much work really. That's like probably like two calls every now and again. So it's
So
not
then
it's not enough volume
why is it worth paying you an extra $1,000?
because then I'll be the one that does the sales, figures this out. If it's even a month trial type, I just cannot afford. I don't have no savings, nothing like that. So if I don't produce this
So
month, I am in
what
trouble
are you but what are you asking for? Again, the business owners, like, it sounds harsh, but they don't care about your bills. That's just the reality of it. You have to say why it makes sense. What does paying you a base do for them? Does it make them more sales, more money, more productivity, more retention, more what does it do for them? You got to figure
All
that
right,
out first, you know?
Ty, how do I promise something that I don't know? It's a catch two too.
Well, again, it depends on what level of work you have, your confidence in your skill set, and the plan that you put together to execute. Because like, why are you expecting them to have confidence in you, enough confidence to pay you a certain amount of money if you don't even have confidence in you?
I have confidence in me, but from
So
what
then
I am
sell.
seeing,
So then sell that. Because you're saying, how can I tell them I'll get them any results if I just don't know? It's like, well, why would they pay you if they just don't know? Someone's got to know. You know what I mean? Someone's got to know. It's either you or them. Someone's got to be confident that the money's worth it, that it's there.
okay,
You know?
I'll tell them this then. I've done 20K per month selling last year, well, yeah, per month last year, and I'm confident I can bring that from a smaller ticket to a higher ticket product and do 20K per month for them as well. 8 sales.
Yeah. What is the sales rep currently? What is the sales rep not doing that you'll do to bring in additional results?
That's the thing now. I don't know anything about the other sales guy.
So then why don't you so get on the phone with him, ask him what he's doing, ask him how things are going, ask him why he's making the amount of sales he's making, and figure it out. That's what I'm saying. Like, do your due diligence, put together a plan, put together a proposal, and go negotiate, man. If that's what you want to do, go negotiate. Figure out what the
Okay.
sales rep's currently doing. How many dials are you making? How many offers have you made? How many pitches? How many this? What objections are you facing? Why do you think they're objecting? What's going on here? Okay, boom, I'm figuring out the sales rep is lazy. They're only doing this. They're not really doing that. They're not really, okay, cool. Now I'm going to go present that. Hey, this is when I spoke to your sales rep. This is what I found out. This is my history. This is my track record in sales. This is what I believe I'll be able to provide for you guys. This is what I would require base for this amount of time. Let me prove myself, or even a draw, right? Base or a draw, whatever. And then again, make your offer and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do differently from that sales guy's doing. I'm confident I'll make more sales. I'm confident I can make at least this many sales, whatever. If you say, okay, the sales guy, makes one sale every 8 days, but he does like $5 a day, and you're going to do 10x that, maybe you can make one sale a day because you're doing 10x his work. Like, again, there's always math that you can do to justify what you're asking for. You can do that. You just have to do the work to bring together all the information and make a sound offer that makes sense for them to be like, you know what? We will pay you that amount.
Okay, great. All right. I just reached out to the sales guy, so I'm going to talk with him right now. He's available. So
Yeah,
thank you very
yeah.
much. I'll
Jump
talk with
on.
you next week.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm not sure if you said a question. Your hand keep going up and down. Riza, did you have a question still? Your hand is
Sorry.
like popping up and down.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to ask, so I just put it down. Yeah, nice to meet you. I actually found your community through a friend, but anyways, I came on here because maybe this is more like a life coaching question, but right now I am in a position where I'm doing account executive role, and I just started, but then I had another offer which is what I want to do, which is the high ticket sales. But what I've also noticed in high ticket sales is like sometimes it's not consistent, right? Like something happens and then you have to stop and then you have to find another role. And so I guess what I'm asking is like the gamble where I go through this interview with the high ticket sales role. Let's say I do get it, and then I'm there, but then realizing, I don't know, maybe something happens and then they drop me and then I just left something that was like more consistent. So I guess for you, obviously you've been in this industry for some time. Like how do you manage the like the lack of guarantee, I guess you could say. I come from a
Yeah.
background B2B sales, and I was there for 5 years. And what I liked about it was that it was consistent. But
Mm-hmm.
why I joined high ticket sales is because obviously the higher return. So yeah.
Higher risk, higher reward, right?
Yeah,
At the end
for
of the
real.
day, there is an element of risk, and it comes down to the type of company you go with, right? So there are some long-standing companies with great track records, good testimonials, case studies that have been around for a while, that you could be there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, just like you were at
Yeah.
your last role. So it would come down to getting with a company like that. I would say the area where a lot of people transition is when they kind of get too obsessed with the whole idea of inbound only. I like call it like a lazier style of closing where their calendar's full because the
Sure.
leads are pumping and the ads are great. And you coming from SaaS, you understand this. There's a little bit more hunting there that you
Yes.
probably had to do. So closers that usually could be on an offer for a long time are willing to do both. When the calendar's full and the ads, because like ads are finicky sometimes to where Facebook puts out an update and the whole funnel stops producing the same way it did. Your calendar could be full for a year, for 6 months, and then if there's a change, it might take the advertising team 1 month to get it back up and going, maybe a month and a half. And that's when a lot of closers jump ship because they're not used to self-setting their own deals because they're so used to deals just being put on their calendar. So if you're someone who's willing to take a full calendar, but then also when the calendar is low, you're able to supplement it with dialing the leads, not cold calling, but dialing leads that are already in the system. You'll protect your commission a lot more because you're always supplementing to keep your calendar full. That would be the first thing. And secondly, building a good, if you do have to jump ship from offers, building good relationship with other closers and recruiters and continuously building your network in this industry makes it very, very easy to transition like that whenever you need to, because companies are always willing to hire a great closer, especially if that closer comes from a recommendation. Like if I wanted to close on an offer, there's a handful of people I can just go like, hey man, put me on the calendar. I want to close some deals for you. And they'd be like, cool. And they would start giving me calls tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or they'd be like, here's the CRM. If you want to just start setting calls and dial it, like, let's do it. Right. So if you have people in your network like that, that's why I said like branding is part of it. Building a network is part of it. When you're connecting with other closers, you're connecting with other sales managers, you're connecting with recruiters, and you're kind of doing little bits of work to build your network over time, be it 15 minutes, 2-3 times a week, networking with other people to have those options in case something does happen where an offer shuts down or something switches. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. When it comes to networking and like, hey, let's connect for 15 minutes, like I know what it's like in the corporate world with the virtual chat. Is there a different way or jargon or communication with networking in the high ticket sales? Like the value, right? It's just text
you
them
always
up.
want to be providing value in some sort of way. And I mean, at the end of the day, people are like this in any industry. It's easier to network when you're more known, when you have more of a name behind you, or where you have like, if a bigger following or whatever. People are always more open to connect with you. If you're producing, the best way to do it is you want to document your journey publicly and more so document your wins. So if I'm on an offer right now as a closer and I'm closing like 30%, 40%, 50% consistently, I'm closing paid in fulls, I'm going to be talking about that consistently. So I'm going to be like, I'm just going to do like little mini summaries like, hey, today was a great day. We closed 5 paid in fulls. We closed 2 paid in fulls. Just onboarded XYZ client into our program. Everything's going good. Or, hey, I landed top closer on the leaderboard this week. Awesome. Like just kind of document your wins publicly so that you start to become, as you connect with people on LinkedIn, as you connect with people on Facebook, you start to just become known as a winner. And that way, when you do reach out to people, what people do is they check your profile and they be like, oh, she's a good closer. I'm going to respond, right? And then that's also another way to get on offers easily because they can publicly see that you're actually producing results and you're doing good. So it's a lot easier to connect with people and be like, hey, I saw you're on this team. Would love to pick your brain. Or, hey, would love to share some tips or whatever. And then also engage with people. When other people are posting stuff, commenting on stuff, engage with those posts, but expand on them. And again, you don't have to like become an influencer or do all this crazy stuff. Just spend like 15 minutes a few days a week commenting on a couple stuff, documenting your wins for the day. And when I say expanding on posts, I mean if someone's like, hey, I just tried this new way of handling objection and it worked really well, you would comment like, hey, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to give that a try on my next call. This is what I found works when handling those kinds of objections. Like you're expanding on the post, showcasing you know what you're talking about when it comes to sales or when it comes to your niche, right? It's really, really easy to build your network, especially if you pick like a broad niche as a closer. Like you work with tons of personal development and fitness type offers, or you work with like B2B type offers in marketing, or really you're like a closer that mainly works in real estate. That way you can also talk about real estate. You can also talk about marketing. You can also talk about these things. So now you're not just known as a closer, you're known as an industry expert who has sales skills, but also understands marketing or whatever niche that you chose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. with social media, I notice like on LinkedIn, high ticket sales is not as much of a popular topic than it is on Instagram.
Yeah.
So do you suggest to maybe focus more on Instagram than LinkedIn? Does that matter?
No.
Doesn't matter.
No. It's popular on Instagram because there's a bunch of people that like want to get in it. Like if you're selling
Yeah.
like how to get into high ticket sales, then yeah, Instagram is popular. But when it comes to actually networking where it matters, which is with sales managers, business owners, recruiters, closers that are performing well, LinkedIn, Facebook is actually the number one platform for that. LinkedIn
Oh,
would be
okay.
a good second. But
Okay.
Facebook by far for the high ticket sales industry, that's probably like the best platform to do this engagement and build your network and stuff like that.
Grow your brand. Okay. Last question. I know other people have questions. I mean, truth be told, I could probably ask 10 more questions, but I'll hold. So objection handling.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've been working on obviously is the different smoke screens that happen in objection handling. But then I'm like, okay, if I'm going to go into this potential offer, it's real estate. I've been kind of tailoring it more to like real estate investors. In your opinion, is it just like kind of a waste of time trying to tailor it to one industry if you're trying to get into a role? Or is it better just to make more like a generic reframes for objection handling?
Are you talking about for skill development or for examples to showcase in like your portfolio?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably both. Probably both.
Okay.
Because like there's different industries I want to like focus on and get better at, but I also obviously want to get better in general skill development with objection handling.
Yeah. So when it comes to applying for roles and having stuff in your portfolio, you want to do role plays and objection handle role plays and that kind of stuff that is relevant to the types of offers you're most likely going to sell, simply because you can
Okay.
showcase those examples to the business owners. And then when they're looking at your role play, they're like, oh, this person's selling a real estate offer. We're a real estate offer. I like the way they sell. It makes more sense than if they were trying to make it make sense or fit within a different niche. But when it
Right.
comes to just skill development, at the end of the day, a lot of objection handling is overarchingly the same thing. You've got logistical objections, you've got fear-based objections, you've got service-based objections,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So when it comes to practicing, it's fine to practice industry specific stuff, but you always want to not get don't get too obsessed with like the specific word tracks. You see a lot of people promoting like say
Yeah.
this or say
That's
that
good.
and say this, and the main thing about word tracks is they work when and this all the popular word tracks you see out there work at the very end of the call when other things have been handled and the only thing left is the emotional sale, right? The way I like to think of objections, at least, everyone has their own ideology, but the way I like to think about it is whenever you're handling objections, you want to first get service out the way, then you get other logistics out the way, then you handle emotion. And what you tend to see is a lot of like the clips on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube videos that handle objections are always showing you how to handle different emotional concerns
Yeah.
and they don't kind of talk about the first part. When I say get service out of the way and logistics out the way I like to handle objections is I first make sure that what I went over in terms of the service that's actually being delivered is exactly what they think they need in order to get results. Because if they
Mhm.
don't believe that, what does it matter if we're talking about pricing? What does it matter if we're
Right.
trying to overcome some kind of fear? Because you don't think the service is going to work. So who cares if you're afraid
Right.
to move forward, you
Exactly.
know? And then the same thing with logistics. It's like, okay, you believe the service is going to work, now we have to make sure that they have the time to be able to do it, they have the money to be able to
Right.
afford it, all that
Money.
stuff. Again, why am I going to do like these reframes and these like long overturns or whatever if they literally just don't have the money in their account to
Yeah.
actually move forward?
Yeah.
It doesn't make
Right.
sense to be like, oh, what would your future self do? Like, it doesn't make sense to get into all that if they actually just don't have the money in their account. So I'll get those two things handled first, then you have all the reframes. And so it's like it's good to learn the reframes and all of the word tracks, but know when to use them. And you can kind of plug them into any offer, any pitch. So yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
getting good at objection handling just comes from knowing how and when to use them and being able to identify the type of person that would require what type of, I guess, push or support, you know?
Right. Right. different buyers for sure. So.
Yeah. Some people need someone that's just like going to believe in them and really champion them. Some people need other things in that moment. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
overarchingly, handling objections just comes down to it's more of an energy or a vibe. It's more of being the calm in their storm and helping them navigate their thoughts to
Yeah.
make the best decision forward. And if the best decision is to move forward, then you're helping them see that through different questioning. You know,
Right.
but everyone has their own objection handling style, so there's really not one way to handle objections either. You know, you kind of
Yeah.
gotta getting good at sales is about figuring out your style as well. A lot of people get too caught up in trying to be like a specific trainer. Exactly how I sell is not going to be exactly how you sell. It's not going to be exactly how someone else sells, and all of us could be selling at the same rate. You know what I mean, with the same product or service and price point, but we still sell differently, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect. Great. Well, thank
Awesome.
you.
No problem. I think Nikki, you had your hand up next as well. If you're still there.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
What's up? What's up?
So, I'm fine. So, um, I've been in this remote space for a while now, but I haven't been able to break through. I've been trying my hands on several things, but my coach for the courses I take will usually say, if you're yet to get a role, try sales. And I've been really good at sales. Um, in my former role, I also got a role last year with a company in the US, but that didn't take so long before um, the contract ended. So we didn't even have the opportunity to get invested in the role. But on my on-site role, I've had tremendous
Still there?
achievements in the role. So can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, so on my on-site role, I worked with a franchise of an American company that was selling a home cleaning system, and I did excellently well at that role. And I know that if given an opportunity, or yeah, if I find myself in a sales role,
You cut out again.
I should be a very good closer. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You said if you found yourself in a role, a sales role, you'd be a good closer, but you've been struggling to land a role. Maybe it might be easier if
Hello?
you type. It might be easier if you typed out your question. Oh, she dropped. Um, Uri, did you still want to take a look at your profile? You know, you put your hand out. I'm not sure if you still want to take a look at it.
Are you
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about
here.
me? Oh, no.
Uriah, I think you posted your.
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you still want to look at it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me share screen real quick, and then we'll handle that last question that we got the hand up, and then we will wrap it up. Um,
I'm
First
back now.
things first. Yeah, Nikki,
Oh,
if you want to just type out your question, it might be better that
okay.
way because you're cutting out a lot. But just type it out, and then I'll answer it best I can. Um, awesome. Let's take a look at this. So Uriah, first thing, the profile it won't say complete until you get like a headshot there. So definitely get that filled out. Let's see. I would take beginner out of the headline. You don't want to focus on what you're not and what you haven't done. Only focus on what you have done, what you can do, and what you do have. So definitely take out beginner. Um, Again, when it comes to the summary, I would focus again. If you've got same thing, summary employments, it's just not fully filled out. I would kind of what we talked about in this call, work on, talk about work ethic, talk about skills you have, talk about achievements you've done, whether it's sports, whether it's schooling, whether it's the jobs you've done. I would just want to fill it out more fully. And if you are a beginner, the best thing you could do is have an intro video and examples of you selling, because at the end of the day, landing a role is all about proving that you can sell. How can I make a business owner believe that I have the skill sets to sell? And how can I showcase my selling style? Right? So if you have experience, they can say, okay, you can sell because I can see a million cash collected. But if you don't have experience, then you have to say, okay, this is how I sell. And by showing role plays is one of the best ways to do it, or getting a role and then building up a track record. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I also have a question about the intro video. How would I make that? Like start it off in this.
Yeah. So intro video, introduce yourself. Actually, I have let me just pull this up because this will definitely be better than anything I'll say right now. I have a video that talks about how to create a 1 minute video. It's like an 18-minute video. I talk about if you have experience, and I talk about what to say if you don't have experience as well. I went ahead and I put that in the chat. So if you want to go ahead and watch that, go from there. Um, Nikki, you said, do I need a portfolio? I would put one. Regardless of whether you have sales experience or not, I would always put a portfolio. Portfolio could be role plays and stuff like that, which is huge because it's just added. It's added proof that you can sell. But then also, a portfolio can be screenshots and examples of your commission checks, tracking sheets. Again, anything from your prior sales history would be huge. So definitely, Nikki, I would throw one in there. But yeah, you're right. I put the link there in the chat. If you want to click that and go watch that video, it'll talk about how to create an intro video. Sound good? Not sure if you heard me, but yeah, it's in the chat there. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, man. How do I
Blagoy.
pronounce it? Blagoy? Blagoy, man. What's up? How
Blagoy,
can I help
yeah.
you?
Nice. Yeah, so like I've been a professional basketball player in the past. So like how do I
Cool.
leverage that into your job board to, maybe get more of like
Yeah.
let's say like fitness roles, stuff like that?
Yeah, I always say sales is like professional sports, when it comes down to the way it's structured and all of that. But I would, again, leverage things that are transferable: work ethic, dedication, skill development, team environment. Leverage all of those things that that would be the same as being a pro athlete. Even in my intro video, talking about, hey, as a pro athlete, I understand how to be dedicated, how to develop my skills, and work at it day after day. You know what I mean? Saying stuff like that, putting stuff like that in the summary is huge. And there's recruiters, like I remember this massive recruiting team of this big sales training company. They said that like professional sports is a big thing that they like to see. If someone has that, it showcases a lot of similar traits that they'd want to see in a sales rep.
Okay, got you. One more thing is like, so for in my last offer, the lead flow was very good, but they had like 3 or 4 more SDRs. So like I want to ask you like what's a good amount, because I was doing mostly outbound. I had some triages too. What's a good amount of like opt-ins per day as far as like organic? So you just make sure that you have enough people to call.
Yeah, typically, ideally, in a perfect world, you would get like 25 to 35. Let's say 30. Yeah, 25 to 30 new leads per day. That would be like a good, solid scaling company. Uh, I've seen people do well off of 10 to 15. It really just depends on how much cash you want to make, what's the OTE and all that stuff, and like what's the deal size, what type of projects, or sorry, what type of offer is being sold. It really just depends on that. But if I were to just say, hey, what if I had to pick one number, what would I go for? I would go for 25 to 30 new leads a day inbound.
Okay. Yeah. And one last thing is I heard I mean not I heard, I think it's the Zach Brown, the guy
Mm-hmm.
that posts on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed he has posted a lot of CSM roles,
Mm-hmm.
which is like client success manager. So
Mm-hmm.
like how do you break into these type of roles? Because I heard like the OT and the base is pretty high on those.
Yeah, CSM for most offers is essentially hiring a coach, right? So the thing with the CSM role, if it's like, if you're a CSM, you have to understand a little bit of sales, but the main thing a CSM does is they're an industry expert. So I was a CSM at one point, but I was a CSM for a sales training company, and my job was to coach people on improving their sales, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't be a CSM for just any company. Like I couldn't be a CSM for a real estate coaching program because I don't know much about real estate. You know what I mean? So if you want to be a CSM, you have to be an expert on what that company delivers. You know, it's not just like a type of a role where you can be like, oh, I'm just gonna go get any. I'm looking for any CSM role. It's like you've got to actually be good at that thing because you're teaching people how to improve. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Just maybe like a little follow up to that would be like, let's say you're in an offer for like 4 or 5 months. You basically know the offer to the T. Could
Mhm.
that mean that you could potentially transition to a CSM for that type of offer, or maybe you need some kind of other
You
experience?
could, if you spent the time learning how that offer was delivered. So if I was like, so for example, if I joined a team as a closer and I started out knowing nothing about the product or service, it doesn't take long to learn enough to be a CSM, right? You wouldn't be the best CSM in the world, but you like most CSMs, especially for coaching offers, there's a specific process that's being followed, and it depends on what you're coaching on, right? It's a little bit harder to be like a sales CSM than it might be to be a real estate CSM than it might be to be like a marketing CSM because there's so much you have to know to be a good marketer. There's so much you have to know to like coach and consult on sales and systems. There's maybe less, like for example, being a fitness CSM would be a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Being a calorie
yeah.
deficit, let's get the right workouts, we'll get the plan going. That's probably like transitioning to that wouldn't be too crazy to figure out, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I were to do that, I would like if I was a sales closer and I wanted to be a CSM, most closers get free access to like the coaching materials, courses and stuff like that. So I would watch the course material. I would go through the course myself while I'm closing on that offer. I would watch CSM onboarding calls. I would watch CSM coaching calls if I could be a part of the CSM team meeting here and there. And I would, try again if that influencer, if that business owner makes content, I would watch their content. I would want to learn the ideology of how that company delivers their service, and then I would be able to transition to a CSM once I feel confident enough to teach what I've learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. That was very good answer. Yep.
Cool. Well, we will end it there for today. Hopefully, this was valuable for everyone. Thank you all for coming. We do this every single Monday. We also have one on Wednesday for those of you that have the sales training subscription there. But if not, I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
See you.
See
Thank
ya.
you. Bye bye.
No problem.